Hello and welcome to our home at Christmastime. During renovations, we called it the little house, but now this is home. We renovated this single wide to be a nice place to rest for our family, and this is my first year getting to trim it for Christmas. The theme of this tour will be contentment, finding joy in where you find yourself in this moment, in this season. It's sprinkling your home with secondhand finds that feel unique and full of charm, making you smile each time you pass them. We painted our kitchen cabinets in Sherwin-Williams shiitake, matched to Valspar Reserve. It is marketed as a warm stone gray, but it definitely has green undertones and pairs so well with Christmas greenery. Our kitchen island has a story of its own. It is made from lumber by a dear friend, and we absolutely love it. This is a great place for us to display and share holiday treats, and you will see me circle back to this later in the video. This adorable squirrel bowl was a gift from Brandon years ago. I saw it at Pier 1 and loved it, and he bought it for me. As we look to this side of the kitchen, we are greeted with these shelves. These shelves actually go back to the first house that we ever rented together. We had them hanging in that house, and then in our last house, we had one of them in the kids' playroom. So it brings me a lot of joy to be able to use them here. These dishes are our wedding china, but those are actually just our everyday dishes. We use them all the time. So I really like that they are on display, but that they actually get used. These little houses were a thrifted find. They had some finish on them, and I took them off kind of to make them look unfinished. If you watched my most recent thrift haul, you will recognize these deer. I cannot wait to get some taper candles to put in these. This bowl with the cable knit pattern is actually part of a set of 2, and I got them at Walmart of all places several years ago. They were the Hallmark brand. This little bell, you can guess, is also thrifted, and it has always been one of my favorites. And then behind that little house was actually a terracotta house that I did a little DIY of and I painted. I can't remember if this was a yard sale or a thrifted find, but this Golden Pines china is such a joy to use. It's especially good to eat leftover cake or pie on for breakfast during the Christmas season. I've had a lot of joy this season just by keeping the table very simple. I have displayed our Advent verse here. We have a new one for every day. These are hand-lettered cards, and I will link the shop down below. And I've also enjoyed using just a simple taper candle or a votive candle, and we have eaten a lot of meals by candlelight. There's just something about eating by candlelight that cannot be replicated in any other way, and it brings a calm to dinner that I really appreciate. So I mentioned that we were going to have a theme of contentment through this video. So if you'll remember from our renovations, this banquette was not always here. There were upper and lower cabinets here, which meant that that outlet used to make sense. It doesn't make sense here anymore. But rather than relocating the electrical, I found this sleek outlet cover. It allows me to use this outlet and make it a little less noticeable. I found some Velcro command strips to attach this up and out of the way, and now we are able to use our coffee maker here, and I just cover this with a pillow. Speaking of the coffee maker, this is a Keurig that we thrifted, and I love that it has the milk frother attachment. It allows me to be a little more creative and to offer my guests a latte or a cappuccino, and it's a lot of fun to be able to do this at home. I really love this view from the kitchen looking on into the living room. I just love how open everything feels. This towel was thrifted, and I think the colors and the feel of it is just very vintage. And this little thrifted dish just sits on the stove waiting to hold a burned match or a ladle from hot chocolate. And speaking of things and pots on the stove, I have a beautiful simmer pot over here. I have grapefruit, some vanilla, some spices, and a few sprigs from our tree. I made this really beautiful for this video, but truth be told, I usually make this just with peels from citrus that we are already eating. This little ledge makes me think of my grandma. This was her original stove to this house. It is still working wonderfully, and she would always decorate this little ledge with different things. This little tiered tray is something that has really been a good functional piece in our kitchen. I could have styled it up and had everything on it be decorative, but truthfully, this is a good place for us to store our produce. So regularly, on a day-to-day basis, it looks like that. These little silhouettes are in thrifted frames. I made these silhouettes last year, and they are one of the things I treasure most in this house. There will always be more things to do and more things to improve upon in our house, but I just love this view. I love how open it is. I love how bright it is. Most everybody who comes over says, this is bigger than I thought it would be. And that was my goal, was to make this feel big, to make it be a space where we could have people over and it not feel super cramped. Our entire marriage, we have had a real tree, but this is the first year that we've had a somewhat small tree. Of course, it's not small, but it's smaller than the trees we normally have. We have been used to very full 9-foot trees. So this year we're going just a little bit shorter, a little bit smaller, but this might be the most beautiful tree we've ever had. There are so many beautiful options for faux trees out there, but there's such a beautiful, whimsical quality to the way that a real tree lays and the way that the branches are. I just really love it. I'm not sure that I will ever convert to an artificial tree. I'm sure maybe at some point, but right now I'm really enjoying it. Our first home was very much a cabin feel. It had knotty pine wood paneling, and so it was very much a cabin feel. So our ornaments sort of lean that way. And the past few years when I have gotten them out and put them on the tree, I initially think, do I even like these anymore? But I do, and these little sentimental ones are popping up more and more, which make me very happy. This frame one is another one that I made last year and I love. And speaking of things I made this wood burn of this Charlie Brown scene several years back. I made one for myself and then one for my mom and each of my sisters. I just really love this scene, and this was a really fun project for me to do. So this ladder was made with tobacco sticks from my great-grandfather's tobacco barn, I think. And this has been a place to hang our stockings. And if this little man looks like he is missing something, I told you the theme would be contentment. He lost an eye a few years ago, and a quick swipe of a Sharpie, and from a distance, you'd never know. So when I decided to put the stockings here, I wasn't sure how I was going to hang that second row, but I decided to just put some push pins here and then put the blanket over it on either side, and you'd never know it was there. Sometimes when you don't have a fireplace, you have to really get creative with how you hang your stockings. I am such a fan of using everyday items and just treating those as decor. So we have this bin of holiday books. It is a mixture of things that I had growing up that my mom passed to me, and thrifted finds and yard sale finds. That's really most of what this is. And there are so many treasured books in here. I love the Jan Brett books. Those are probably my favorite. They just have such beautiful illustrations, and my kids love them as well. This snowman was thrifted. I think he is adorable. And this mirror was a $5 yard sale find. The greenery was thrifted, and then I added just a simple blue velvet bow. I really love this mirror. I wish that I could position it to reflect the lights on the tree. All right, I told you that I would be circling back to this area. A few years ago, I discovered the practicality and the simple joy of using a pedestal cake stand during the Christmas season. I have found that this is the best way to store all those little treats that are coming in those weeks leading up to Christmas. You come in with a bag here and a Tupperware container there, and it can all be very cluttered. And so anytime that I get a little treat that doesn't need to be refrigerated, I tend to put it in here. And it just lets your family see what things are there, and it's all in one place, and it looks very nice. I really love that from our kitchen you can look through to the skinny tree in our room. I love the glow that it gives. So our room is very simple, very understated, neutral colors, and then some pops of greenery here and there. We really didn't make very many changes in this room other than painting. All of the walls and the doors were very much more of a yellow tone, and so we kind of just brought that back to be more of a white. It is a warm white, but we just kind of dialed the yellow back a bit. This dresser was a Craigslist find. It was pink, and I completely refinished it and put legs on it for Abram's nursery. And now it is serving us well in here. I really love this little tree. It was a thrifted tree, and all of the ornaments on it are either thrifted or DIY. I think that they feel like they work very well together, and I think that it's just a very nice look. This little nativity set of ornaments is the only thing about this that is not secondhand, and these were a gift from a former student of mine. That little basket tree skirt was also a DIY from a yard sale. This little mistletoe ball is such a fun touch, and I was glad that we actually had somewhere to hang it in this house. For the past few years, I have pieced together some thrifted garland to go on our bed frame, and this year I invested in some, and I have no regrets. I really have such joy in seeing these decor items come together and really creating the home that I want. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.